Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hello, how are you? I'm sorry I'm late. I know you've been waiting, but I had problems with my internet. I think everything is going to be okay now. Let's get started right away so we don't lose any time. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm much better today. And hopefully we'll be able to cover all the chapter number 5. Now, before I forgot, one of you called me, sent me, I think it was Firdaus, I can't remember who called me, but yes, there is a password for the exam. Remember, I did a quiz for you and I said to check it out. Okay, there is a password, and that's why some of you who have not been able to go in is because the password is there. Now, the password is 1, 2, 3, 4. Very simple. Okay, that's the password, people. So this is password for quiz 1. I was meaning to send it in an announcement. I just don't know what happened, okay? So I will be sending another announcement just to tell you that the password is 1, 2, 3, 4. After we finish today's lecture, you should have been studying all through next week so that we prepare you for taking the quiz. It's going to be very, very simple. It's not going to be an issue, and hopefully you will be able to get through. If there's any problem, just send me a note, send me an email, or just call me in the WhatsApp or send me a message that you're having problems with whatever. Okay? So I didn't get any messages from anybody, from any one of you. I think then it should all be okay. Okay, now let's start. I'll just let me download the chapter for you. Hold on. Okay, I'll give you my number in a sec. Let me just do this. Okay, this is my number. Should you want to call, you don't even have to call. You can just send me a message or send me in the WhatsApp so that I'll know you're having problems opening it. Maybe I can go in and recheck if there's something wrong with the password. Okay, so please do this right away after we finish class, just to make sure that everybody could go into the exam. Okay, let's get started. We're dealing with Unit 5, and it's called Predicates. Now, this is an entry test. That's the entry test that they have in your book to see whether you understand what a referring tree is, and I think we did that, right? We looked at the entry test to see what is happening, whether something is a referring expression or not a referring expression. And I want to go into the practice where you want to delete the referring expression and you want to write down the remainder of what is there. Now, let's see what this means. If I say my dog bit the postman, what they want you to do is delete the referring expression and leave what is left. So if I said my dog bit the postman, my dog is a referring expression. The postman is another referring expression. What you're left with is bit, right? So bit here becomes what is called as the predicate. We're saying that every sentence has to have one predicate and a number of arguments. So over here we have two arguments. Argument 1, argument 2, and the predicate is immediately bit. Now, if you say Mrs. Rafe is writing the mayor's speech, we're going to have Mrs. Rafe as the first referring expression, right? And the mayor's speech as the second referring expression. And the predicate is, remember, you're going to take away is because it's part of the grammar, and the ing because it's part of the grammar, and the predicate is immediately right. Right? Cairo is in Africa. Here's Cairo, and the other referring expression is Africa. We're going to take away is because it's part of the grammar. We said whenever we have the verb to be, it's not part of the grammar, we delete it. So the predicate becomes what? In, because that's the only thing left. Right? So in here is the predicate in semantics. So predicate can be a preposition, it can be also a verb. Although in syntax we said the predicate can also only be a verb. But in semantics it can be anything. Is not, you have to take it away. Right? Is Najat, is can never be part of any, it's not a noun phrase. A noun phrase is just our determiner and the noun. And only these are referring expression. Nothing else is a referring expression. Verb to be and everything else you delete it and then you find the predicate. Let's look at this one. Edinburgh is the argument or referring expression. Aberdeen is the second. York is the third. Right? We're going to take away is because it's a function word, right? It's part of the grammar. We're going to take and because it doesn't have any meaning. It's not a referring expression. And what is left is between, right? So between over here is the predicate. What if you say this place stinks? Here's this place. That's the argument. And therefore stinks is the predicate. What about John's car is red? Here is John's car. All of it is a noun phrase, a referring expression. All of it. Take away is because it's part of the function word, and red is the predicate. So red is an adjective, but it's still a predicate in semantics. Einstein was a genius. Here's Einstein, the referring expression or argument. Take away was, take away a, and genius becomes the predicate. Okay, everybody okay with that? We're trying to find out how to get the predicate. So far so good. Let's go. The remainders, what is left, in the right-hand column are quite a varied set. There is, so let's look over here, yeah. The remainders, what you remain, when we say the remainders, it means what is here, bit, right, in, between, stinks, red, genius. As they tell you, these remainders are quite a varied set. There is one word which carries more meaning than the others. For instance, right carries more specific information than is and the suffix in. That's why we say right is the predicate. What happens when we do that if we take away the referring expressions and leave the rest? What happens is a kind of Tarzan jungle talk. Yeah, it's like people talking in jungle talk, like boy bad, me Tarzan, you Jane, woman right. You know, it's no tense, no function words, only the referring expressions and the predicate, but nothing else, no inflections. So when we say is writing, the predicate is right. Is in, there The in is the predicate. Is between and, we're going to take away and is, we know, doesn't have meaning, so the predicate has to be between. In stinks, the predicate is stink, without the S, obviously, no S, because there's no tense, right? Is red, you're going to take away is, and red is the predicate. Was a genius, it's going to be a genius as a referring expression, and you're going to take away was altogether. Okay, so these expressions are a lot. They're various types, not only verbs, prepositions, and adjectives as well. So what do we mean? What are we going to do now? Now they introduce you to the definition of what is called a predicator. Now what we call right now, they function as a predicator, but let's see what that means. The predicator of a simple declarative sentence. Remember, it has to be a declarative sentence, a simple one, not a complex one. You can't say, for example, the boy that I liked was sitting in the corner. That would be too big. It would have too many sentences and not just one sentence, too many clauses. We're talking about a simple sentence that is declarative. Now, the predicator of a simple declarative sentence, which does not belong to any of the referring expressions, and which makes the most specific contribution to the meaning of the sentence, is called a predicator. It's a word which does not belong to a referring expression, and which makes the most contribution to the meaning. This is called the predicator. So the predicator describes the state or process in which the referring expressions are involved. It doesn't describe the referring expressions, it describes the state or the process of the referring expression. It means it tells you what are the referring expressions doing in the sentence. Are they running? Are they laughing? Are they red? Are they hot? Are they clumsy? It just describes that. If this is there, if you find it, it's called a predicator. It's called a predicator. So let's look at an example. Asleep, the predicate is like news in the sentence. Yes, Ashwag, it is. It's what's happening, but not news about the people or objects, not the referring expression, about what they're doing. And remember, we said the predicate, but now it's not the predicate. They're going to tell you that it's called a predicator. So but please watch out. We're trying to find the predicator, because now they're going to make you a difference between what they call the predicator and a predicate. Okay? So, asleep is the predicator, is mommy is asleep. Look at the sentence. Mommy is asleep. Mommy is a referring expression. What is left is and asleep. We're going to take away is because we know that it's not part of the lexemes, and so the predicate has to be asleep. Remember, there's only one predicator in any sentence and a number of referring expressions. And so it describes the state mommy is in. She's asleep, she's happy, she's bored. Yeah, asleep is the predicate. If you say love, in the white man loved the Indian woman. Here's the white man, it's a referring expression, and here is the Indian woman. So, if this is a referring expression and this is a referring expression, where is the predicator? It's love. Exactly. So, love is the predicator in this sense. What does it do? It describes the process in which the two referring expressions are involved. It tells you what's happening with the man and the woman. What are they doing? What is the process? What's happening? They loved each other. And so their love is the process that is happening with the referring expressions. These are called the predicators. What about if you say Jimmy was waiting for the downtown bus? Here is Jimmy, referring expression, and here is the downtown bus, a referring expression. What is left was waiting for. Now we're going to take a was away, and take away the ing, but now we have two words, wait and for. Which one is the predicator? We say that wait for is one predicator. It's one verb called wait for. Wait for is one word. It's not just two. It's a verb that takes a preposition, sometimes called the prepositional verb. Like in Arabic, we have يرغب فيه ويرغب عنه, right? يرغب فيه means I like him or I like it. يرغب عنه means I hate it, I don't want it, I'm not interested. So it's the preposition that changes the meaning. Here, wait for is the same thing. It's a preposition, it's a verb that takes a preposition. It's one complex one. And so this is the predicator in that sense. So we want to strip away, to take away the referring expressions and the verb to be. Why do you want to do that? Because we want to identify the predicators. That's how you identify predicators in the sentence. You strip away the referring expressions and the verb to be and any other element that is not important to the meaning. And the rest would be the predicators. So let's do this. I am hungry. Okay, you say, everybody says that hungry is the predicator, and you're right. The predicator is hungry. Why? Because I is a referring expression, right? And am is the verb to be. So hungry is the predicator. Joe is in San Francisco. The predicator, thank you very much, people, is in. Why? Because Joe is a referring expression. San Francisco is a referring expression. We're going to delete the verb to be, so the predicator has to be in. The mayor is a crook, right? The mayor is a referring expression. Is not, so a crook has to be the predicate. The man who lives at number 10 Lee Crescent is whimsical. Now here you have to be very, very careful, because it looks like a large type of sentence, right? The man who lives at number 10 Lee Crescent is whimsical. Where is the main verb in this sentence? The main verb. Okay, right. The main verb is. That's the main verb. And so, it's not only the man that is a referring expression, it's also the man plus the description who lives at number 10 Lee Crescent. All of this is the referring expression. Okay, all of it is a referring expression. You can't separate the head noun man from the description who starts with who or which. The book which I sent you. Or that. The man that I like. So anything that has that or starts with that or who or which. And if you remember your grammar, these are all called relative clauses. What are these? These are just descriptions, a relative clause. And it begins with that or who and which, and it always describes a noun. So if all of this is a referring expression, as you said, Sharifa, therefore an is not part of the vaccines, the predicate here is whimsical. That's the predicate. It's an adjective. Now, if we say the Royal Scottish Museum is behind Old College. Yeah, whimsical means funny or weird. Behind. Zainab, you say it's behind. If you're right, you're behind. Behind is the predicate. Now, why? Because the Royal Scottish Museum, all of it is a referring expression. And old school, old college is a referring expression. Is part of the grammar, and so the predicator is behind. So the predicators in sentences can be of various parts of speech. We know that, various parts of speech, classes of speech. They can be adjectives like red, asleep, hungry, whimsical. They can be verbs like write, think, place. They can be prepositions like in, between, behind, and they can be nouns like a crook, a genius. Okay, so all of these can be predicators. They can be also nouns, like crook and genius. They're nouns, but they can also be predicators. No, Ashwar. It doesn't have anything to do with the past or the present. We're just saying whenever there's a predicator, we cannot use the predicator in the past tense. So if the verb is he wrote a book, you cannot have wrote. You have to take away the tense. Strip away the past tense and bring it back to Mazda, which is right. And so the predicator is right. Right? The predicate is another thing. I will explain to you what a predicate is. And I'm sorry we started with the word predicate. Some books call it a predicate. But over here we're going to call it a predicator. In any sentence, there must only be one predicator and a number of referring expressions. So, despite the syntactic difference between these different types of words, semantically they all share the property of being able to function as predicates. Yes, they're all different words. One is a verb, one is a noun, one is an adjective. They syntactically they're different. But semantically we say they can all function as predicators. You can put them in the sentence and make them predicators. But words of other parts of speech, such as, for example, conjunctions like and, but, or the articles the, a, all of these cannot be predicators in sentences. You cannot have and or but or the or a functioning as predicators in a sentence. Only parts of speech that are adjectives, verbs, prepositions, and nouns can function as predicators. But conjunction and articles cannot be predicators. That's the main thing to remember. Now, the semantic analysis of simple declarative sentence reveals two major semantic roles played by different subparts of the sentence. So we're saying when we do a semantic analysis, I'm not really sure I understand what you mean, Sharif. Come after sentence. The articles can be predicate but not predicator. No, the articles are not even predicates. We'll explain that. If you say the boy who did that, all of it is a noun phrase. It's a referring expression. Now, I'll tell you what what's happening here. They're going to tell you that if you take a whole declarative sentence, every declarative sentence has to have two roles. Remember in syntax we said there should be a subject and a verb, for example, in syntax. John laughed. Subject verb. In semantics we don't have a subject verb, we're going to have new roles, new functions. What are these new functions? This is the role of predicator and the role of argument. So instead of SV, we always have in semantics P, A. P is the predicator and A is the argument. Now, what can be an A? A can only be the referring expression. So all referring expressions are immediately called arguments. All referring expressions. And what is left from the remainder is going to be the predicator. You have to find the predicator because there's only one predicator in any sentence. Now, let's look at an example. Juan is Argentinian. The predicator here is Argentinian. Why? Because Juan is an argument, it's a referring expression. Is part of the grammar, so there's only one word left, which is Argentinian, and so Argentinian is the predicator. Remember, now we're doing a semantic analysis. So you have to find out where the arguments and where the predicators are. If we were doing a syntactic analysis, we would say, where is the subject, where is the verb, where is the object, like we did when we looked at the syntactic analysis. But now we're in semantics, and we have to do semantic analysis based on predicators and arguments. And please watch out. There's a predicator and there's a predicate, and they will explain to you the difference between those two. So, Juan arrested Pablo. Here is Juan, and here is Pablo, and these are both arguments. And the predicator is arrest. Thank you very much. Arrested. Took away the ed because it's not the tense. Juan took Pablo to Rio. Exactly, take. Because Juan is a referring expression, Pablo is a referring expression, Rio is a referring expression. You're left with took and to. Who is the most important in this sentence, took or to? What is the most sentence that gives you the most communication? It has to be took. So I'm going to take it back to take in the simple tense, and take would be the predicator. And the arguments would be Juan and Pablo and Rio. Notice that sometimes the argument is only one, sometimes you have two arguments, and sometimes you have three arguments. This is the most arguments that a simple sentence can have. You cannot have any more than three arguments in a sentence. And these occur with certain type of verbs, like take, give, receive, borrow, lend, when there's always three things. For example, I gave Mary a present. There's I, and there's Mary, and there's present. And the predicator is gave. So only some type of verbs. The verbs, if you have transfer, when you give something to someone, or when there's a transfer of something from one person to another. Now, in the practice, they want you to indicate the predicators and the arguments. And this is what's happening in the quiz video that I give you. You just want to know where are the arguments and where are the predicators. So, if you say Dennis is a menace, what is the predicator in Dennis is a menace? The predicator. Yes, exactly. The predicator is menace. Why? Because Dennis here is a referring expression, and is part of the function verbs, and you can't have a also as a predicator, so menace has to be the predicator, and Dennis is the argument. Fred showed Fred showed Jane his BMW. How many arguments? Fred, Jane, and BMW, right? What's left? Only the verb show, right? And so show is the predicator, and the argument is Fred, Jane, and BMW. Donald is proud of his family. Donald is a referring expression, it's an argument. Donald is, you're going to take it away. His family is another argument. So you're left with proud of. So the predicator has to be proud. Or proud of, if you think of proud of as one word. But proud is okay. The hospital is outside the city. تكتبيها بفواصل, or in the exam, if you just want to use space, it's still okay. Watch out that in the exam, you have to make sure that you get the correct spelling, so the system will correct your answer correct. So if it's Dennis, please write completely Dennis. Okay, exactly as is. Don't write anything that is bad spelling. Just write the whole thing exactly as. So the hospital is outside the city. The hospital is the argument 1. The city is argument 2. Is and outside, you take away is, so the predicator is outside. Okay? You could write proud of or proud. Both are acceptable. Just say proud. It will be fine. Now, having said that this is what a predicator, and remember, the predicator is anything that can function as a predicator in a sentence. It has a function, a part of the what is left after we take away the referring expression. It describes what the referring expressions are doing. But what about the predicate? Remember, there's a difference. A predicate and a predicator. And don't get yourself confused. You have to know the definition of both. What is a predicate? A predicate is any word or sequence of words which, in a given sense, can function as the predicator of a sentence. So, a predicate is any word that can function as a predicator. It itself is not a predicator, but it can function as a predicator. Let's take an example. Hungry, in, crook, asleep, hit, show, bottle, wait for, in front of. All of these are predicates. Why? Because remember, hungry was a predicator in a sentence, and so was in, and so was crook. John is asleep. Asleep was a predicator in the sentence. Hit, show, meaning all adjectives, all prepositions, all nouns, prepositional verbs like wait for, and longer sequence like in front of. This is a whole preposition. It's a complex preposition made out of three things: in, front of. It's one word really, it's one unit, one idiom. And these are all predicates because they can function as predicators in sentences. So therefore they are predicates. But if you have like and, or, but, and not, these are not predicates. Why? Because they cannot function as predicators. So that's the simple distinction between them. Predicates can function as predicators. But conjunctions, or but, or not, cannot function as predicators, so therefore they are not predicates. Now, we use predicate in a way which does not allow a predicate to be ambiguous. We don't want the predicate to be ambiguous, having many meanings. We only have to have one sense of a predicate. So, for example, if you say the word bank has at least two senses, and remember senses means al-wujuh, a dictionary meaning. Now, the word bank has two senses. Remember, the sense is the relation of one word to another word in a dictionary form. And so, because it has two sentences, we speak of predicate 1 and predicate 2. What are those? These are what we call subscripts. A subscript is a small number. Subscript. Subscript means it's behind, under the sentence, a sub, below. So bank, and you have a number next to it. You'll find these in dictionaries. So if a word is ambiguous, it has many senses, the dictionary will tell you that here's a word, it has the same spelling and the same pronunciation, but actually it's two different words, not just one. And that's why they give you bank 1 and bank 2. By using these subscripts. Similarly, they can say there's man 1, man 2, and man 3. How is that? There's man 1, which just means human being. He is a man. God created man, a human being. But man also can be just a male, adult human being. Here's the man who stole my watch. Just a male, adult human being. And man 3 can be a transitive verb. Like, for example, the crew manned the lifeboat. It's a verb, actually. Manned, yani, he gave them more men to help them. تزويد بالأيدي العاملة مثلا. This is what man, the verb, means. And so, therefore, there is man, the noun, and man, the verb, and the dictionary will tell you the three senses by putting these subscripts or numbers, 1, 2, 3. Because in a predicate cannot be ambiguous. It only has to have one meaning. Now, the term predicate identifies elements in the language system independent of a particular example sentence. What does that mean? When I say predicate, it doesn't mean I'm looking at the predicate in a sentence. It's just a predicate by itself in the language system, in the dictionary. But it doesn't need an example. But the term predicator is different because it identifies the semantic role played by a particular word in a particular sentence. It is very simple to when you say al-fa'il or subject or al-maf'ul bih. It's not a predicate word, it's a function. And so the term predicator is not a particular word that you can find in the language system without an example. The predicator is the role, the function that a word plays in a sentence. So it's very much similar to say subject or object or adverbial. A simple sentence has only one predicate, although it may contain more than one instance of a predicate. Yes, it only has one predicator, but there are many predicates in a sentence. But it's only one predicator. There's only one predicator as a function. Does it have other predicates? Yes, it does. But we're not looking for the predicates. We're looking for the predicator. So let's explain this even more. What if you said, a tall, handsome stranger entered the room? Now all of this, a tall, handsome stranger, is a noun phrase. It's a referring expression. So it's an argument, all of it together, a tall, handsome stranger. And then the saloon is another argument, argument 2. And so the predicator has to be enter, right, without the ed. It has only one predicator and it is enter. But the sentence contains tall, handsome, stranger, and saloon. And all of these are what we call predicates. Abir, you want to pray only if you did it in Maghrib Adhan already, right? But if you already prayed al-Asr, you want to pray in Maghrib. Why don't you wait until, just half an hour and then we're finished? You can pray after we finish immediately. Okay? Abir, so that, you don't want to miss your prayers. Okay, it's okay. Some of you want to go, but I won't stop. I have to finish because remember, you have an exam to do and I need to finish this particular chapter. There's no way out. Okay, so this sentence has one predicator, which is enter, but it has many predicates. Tall, handsome, stranger, and saloon. All of those are predicates because they can function as predicators in other sentences. For example, you can say this man, John is tall. He is tall, and now you put it in another sentence and it becomes a predicate. John is the argument, obviously. He is handsome. There he is. Handsome can function as a predicator in another sentence. The argument is John or the argument is he. We're asking for the predicator. He is a stranger. Also, this is a predicator. And that ramshackle building is a saloon. All of that. That ramshackle building is an argument and a saloon is the predicate. Cater in this sense. Okay, so predicates is what you find in the dictionary. But the predicator you can't find in the dictionary because it's a function like subject or object. Now, again, there's practice. In which of the following sentences does the predicate male, now we're looking for the predicate male, and they want to know in which sentence it functions as a predicate. Not just as a predicate, but as a predicator in the sentence. So let's look at the sentence. The male gorilla at the zoo had a nasty accident. Where is the word male? It's over here. Now, the question is male here a predicator? It cannot be, because the male gorilla at the zoo, all of it is the argument, is the noun phrase. Had a nasty accident. A nasty accident yesterday is another referring expression, and so the predicator has to be have or had. The gorilla at the zoo is a male. The gorilla at the zoo, all of it is a predicator, is part of a grammar. So male here is this a predicator? When you have a male? It isn't. The gorilla at the zoo is male. Here it is a predicator. The gorilla at the zoo is male. Is it or is this one a male? I think it's both. What does the book say? Both. Yes. Does it say both, the book? Does it say just C? Yes, both. Yeah, because obviously this one is a predicator, but so is this one, a male, all of it. Just like we say is a genius. It's the same thing. Now, in which of the following sentences does the predicator human function as a predicator? When you say all humans are mortal, all humans here are part of the argument. And mortal is the predicator. Socrates was human? Yes. Socrates here is the argument. And human is the predicator. Right? These bodies are human. These bodies are all referring expressions. And so human is also a predicator here also. Whether you say Socrates was human or these bones are human, it's the same. So now we come to the third thing which is there in your exam, which we call the degree. And let me just go back and tell you, in the exam, you have to identify the argument, identify the predicator, and tell me the degree of the predicate. Okay, these are the three things. And remember, when you want to write the argument, write all the arguments. Sometimes there are two arguments, right? So you have to write it exactly as is. If you say John hates Paul, you know that the argument is what? John and Paul. So please write John exactly as you see it. Leave a space here and then write Paul. Okay, so that the system will know that you're writing exactly right. Now, the degree of a predicate is a number. So the first thing that we have to agree on is the degree is a number like 1 or 2 or 3. A number of what? The number of arguments that the predicate has in a simple sense. So, asleep is a predicate of degree 1, or sometimes called one-place predicate. Why? Because you say he is asleep. It only has one referring expression. So it's 1 degree. Or you don't have to write degree 1. You don't have to write one-place predicate. All you have to do is just say 1. Or write the 1, whichever one makes you happy. Okay, so if I tell you what is the degree of the predicate in the sentence, you will have to say 1 or 2 or 3. Now, love is a predicate of degree 2 or a 2-place predicate, because you say John loves Paul, you just can't say John loves. If you want to say loves, it has to have 2 arguments, not just 1. And so it's an argument of 2. The degree is 2. So remember, the degree is a number. Now, let's look at this. Are the following sentences acceptable? Now, if there's somebody called Thornbury and he sneezed, is that an acceptable sentence? Yes, John sneezed. If you say Thornbury sneezed a handful of pepper, is that acceptable? Can you say Mary sneezed a handful of pepper? No, you can't. It doesn't make sense. And so it's inaccurate. Can you say Thornberry sneezed his wife a handful of pepper? Again, no. So that means what? Thornberry sneeze, the predicator is sneeze, can only have one degree. It's a predicate of degree 1, because you cannot have 2 and you cannot have 3. All you have is only one referring expression, a degree of 1. So is sneeze a one-place predicate? Yes, it's a 1 degree predicate, or a predicate of 1. What about the following sentence? Can you say Martha hit? Obviously no. Can you say Martha hit the sideboard? Yes, that's acceptable. Can you say Martha hit George the sideboard? Obviously not. It doesn't make sense. You don't say Martha hit George the sideboard. You can only say Martha hit the sideboard, hit the ball, hit the wall. So therefore, hit here, which is a predicator, is of degree 2. Because this one is unacceptable. Is hit a one place? No. Hit is 2 places. What about died? If you say, my friend died, it's a predicate of 1. Because you can't say, my friend died the mother, for example. What about come? Is come a one-place predicate? The policeman came. Yes, it could be a one-place predicate. What about murder? Can murder be a one-place or kill? Can you say the policeman murdered by itself? No, you have to say the policeman murdered the sailor, for example. So it's a predicate of 2. Degree just means how many arguments a predicate has. A verb that is understood with just 2 arguments, one as its subject and one as its object, is a 2-place predicate or degree 2. So this way they have 2 ways of saying it, either 2-place predicate or just 2, degree 2. Murder cannot be one place, Ashwat, because you cannot say John murdered or John killed. John has to murder somebody. Here, X. You can say John was murdered. That means somebody killed John, but this is something else. You have to say was in the passage. Otherwise, John murdered Paul. Murder is always 2 places or 2 degrees. And Martha hit the parrot. When you say Martha hit the parrot, hit is 2 places. It has an argument, Martha as subject, and an argument, the parrot, as object in syntax. So it has an SVO pattern. There's the predicator, and it has S and V, and both of them are arguments, so it's a 2-degree argument. What about if you say Keith made? Is that acceptable? Nope. Why not say Keith made? Can you say Keith made the soy gelatine? Yes, you can. Can you say Keith made the soy gelatine his mother-in-law? No, you can't. You can say for his mother-in-law, but you cannot just put noun phrases together. If you cannot put them together, then they're unacceptable. So here made is 2. It's a degree of 2. Is make a 2-place? Yes, it is. What about murder? It's also a 2-place. What about see? I saw a car. It's also 2-place. Because you can't say I see by itself. You have to say what you see. Now, there are a few 3-place predicates. So far, we only know place 1 and place 2. Predicates degree 1 and degree 2. There are very few predicates that are free. One of the very few examples is the verb give. Now, can you say Herod gave? You can't. Can you say Herod gave Salome? Also, it doesn't make sense. Can you say Harold gave a nice present? Yes. Can you say Harold gave Salome a nice present? Yes. So there's gave, there's Salome, and there's a nice present. So there are 3 noun phrases using the verb give. So therefore, give is a degree of 3. It's 3 because there it is. 1, 2, and 3. In the case of prepositions, nouns, and adjectives, we can talk of 1, 2, or 3 place predicates. For prepositions, for nouns, and adjectives, we can have 1, 2, or 3. So, how many referring expressions are there if you say your marble is under my chair? Referring expressions, your marble and my chair. Is your marble is under acceptable? No, you cannot say your marble is under by itself. That's unacceptable. You'll have to say your marble is under my chair. And so, under here, you cannot say your marble is under my chair, the carpet. Right? You can't do it. It's unacceptable. So, under can only take 2 referring expressions. And therefore, it's a degree 2. Dundee is between Aberdeen. Can you say that? Dundee is between Aberdeen. Or the book is between the table. It's unacceptable. Dundee is between Aberdeen and Edinburgh. This is acceptable. Because when you say between, you have to have 2 things. So therefore, you have Dundee, Aberdeen, and Edinburgh. 1, 2, 3. Where's the predicate? The predicate is between. The predicator is between. So how many degree is the predicate between? It is 3. To use between, you have to have 3 arguments. I am between you and the table. The book is between the chair and the office. So therefore, between is one of these small groups of predicates that can take 3 degrees. The majority of adjectives are only 1. So most adjectives are only 1 degree. And they give you an example. So if you say Philip is handsome, there's handsome, right? And here's Philip. And so there's only 1 because you cannot say Philip is handsome John. So therefore, handsome is only a degree 1. If you say John is afraid of Dido, is that acceptable? Yes, it is. John is afraid of Dido. But can you say John is just afraid? You can, but it seems elliptical means it seems that something is missing. You can say afraid of what? So when you say afraid of, you're really saying that afraid of has 1, 2. It's a degree of 2. Can you say your house is different? Yes, you can, but it seems kind of funny. Different from what? So when you say different, you're really saying that different is different from and afraid of are all of degree 2. The preposition here, there's of and there's from, right? You have to say afraid of and different of. Now, we don't look at these as prepositions by themselves. We think of them as prepositions that are part of the adjective. So the combination of adjective plus the particle or plus the preposition in these cases is a complex or multi-word predicate. But it's just 1 predicate. Afraid of, different from, aware of, jealous of. All these various adjectives that take prepositions with them, they are included as 1 and not just 2. Now, again, it's a practice. How many referring expressions are there? To say John is a corporal. Is John is a corporal the army acceptable? No, you can't do that. You can say John is a corporal in the army, but that's a different thing. We just want to know whether you can attach a noun phrase and it will be accepted. John is a corporal is acceptable, so therefore John is one referring expression and the corporal is the predicator. So how many degrees is it? Just one, because it only has one referring expression. What about the word hero? If you say John is a hero, is that acceptable? Yes, it is. And so therefore it's a degree of 1. John is a crook? Yes, also 1. How many referring expressions are there when you say this object is a pitchfork? This object is a pitchfork, therefore a pitchfork is a predicator and it is degree 1. This object is a table, this object is a chair, this object is anything, you know. All of this would be a predicate, predicator, and it is of degree 1. Now, most nouns are one place of. We said adjectives are one place, and most nouns are also one place. But there's only a few nouns which we say are what we call inherently relational. These are the nouns that have to do with relatives: father, son, brother, mother, daughter. So you cannot say John is a brother. It sounds funny. You have to say John is Paul's brother, or John is my brother, or John is a brother of the mayor of Miami. This is acceptable, yes. So we're really all those kinship or family are all two. They're relational. I mean, they compare two things together. So all kinship are immediately 2, degree 2. But only if that brother is a predicator. Here, John is my brother. Brother is a predicator. If this is a predicator, then it is of degree 2. If you say, for example, my brother stole the book. Now here is brother, right? But my brother is not a predicator in this sentence. It doesn't have anything to do with degree. The degree is only tied to the predicator. My brother here, don't say, oh, brother, kinship, then it has to be 2. No, there's no, my brother here is not a predicator. It's an argument, a referring expression. My brother and the book are referring expressions, and the predicator is steal. And steal is of degree 2 because it has 2 referring expressions. But when the brother or sister or father is a predicator in a sentence, it will have degree 2. Same thing with sister. It's a 2 place. John is Mary's sister. So John and Mary, and sister is the predicator, and it is of degree 2. Sometimes 2 predicates can have nearly the same sense, but be from different parts of grammar. So most of the time, these predicates have the same degree. You can say Ronald is foolish, but you can also say Ronald is a fool. Both of them are predicators, and they have the same degree. You can say Timothy is afraid of cats, or Timothy fears cats. Same thing. Here's cats, and here's Timothy. These are referring expressions. Takeaway is, you're left with afraid of, and it's a degree 2. If you say Timothy fears cats, it's the same thing. Cats, Timothy, it's a verb, but it's also of 2 degrees. My parrot is a talker. A talker is a predicator, degree 1, because it only has one referring expression. And you can also say, instead of a talker, you can say my parrot talks. Whatever, if it's a noun or a verb that has the same thing, it will have the same degree. And finally, we have what is called as the identity relation. And this is found in equative sentences. Now, we looked at equative sentences before when there are 2 referring expressions and they refer to the same thing. They have the same reference. 2 different expressions. So George Bush is the 44th president of the United States. So George Bush and the 43rd president of the United States. So therefore, where's the predicator here? If these 2 are referring expressions, the predicator can only be is. Even though we said that is, we take it away, but in this type of sentence where you have two referring expressions and nothing else, this is what we call the identity relation. You can reverse it. You can say the 43rd President of the United States is George Bush. Again, George Bush and the 23rd President, 43rd, and is here is what we call the identity relation. So in this sentence, they tell you which sentence does the form of be function as identity. Most of them you're going to delete the verb to be, but only if it functions as a predicator or an identity predicate. If you say this is a spider, is here is not an identity, because a spider is not a referring expression. They have to be two referring expressions. A spider here, the spider is a predicate. This is the predicate, the spider. And is just part of the grammar. This is my father. Now here is an identity. Hello? Yeah. Sorry about that. I think we had a problem. I know we're off time, but just wanted to make sure that everybody does the exam, so I'm back. Do you have chat properties? Okay, fine, we're almost out of time. I just don't know what happened. The systems just simply broke down. In any case, we're looking for the identity relation because you have to know where it is. It's only when there's two referring expressions on both sides. So this is the this and my father, and is over here is the identity relation, right? Because these two are referring expressions. This is the person I was telling you about at dinner. This is a referring expression, and the person I was telling you about at dinner last night, all of that is the referring expression. And so is here is an identity, also an identity. The person I was telling you about at dinner last night is, and look at over here after is, in the next room. Now here there's no referring expression, right? It's just a prepositional phrase. It's a prepositional phrase, a PP. A prepositional phrase. So prepositional phrases are not referring expressions, right? They couldn't be referring expressions. This is a referring expression. The person I was telling you about at dinner last night. But after that, after the person I was telling you about at dinner last night, what you have is a prepositional phrase. And so it's not a noun phrase. So this one is not an identity relation. The person I was telling you about at dinner last night is the man talking to Harry. Yes, this one. All of this is one noun phrase. This one, the man talking to Harry, is another. And if here is the identity relation. When is the main verb, that's the main thing. If is the main verb in the sentence, and on both sides there are referring expressions, not prepositional phrases like for, then this is the identity predicate. What about the whale is a mammal? A mammal over here is not a referring expression. Neither is the whale. Both of them are not referring expressions. They don't refer to anybody specific. A mammal is just like saying a carpenter, a sailor, a student. A mammal is a description of a whole class. So it cannot be referring expression because remember we said a referring expression has to have something outside in the real world. So if we're saying where is the identity relation, it's this one. This is my father, and this is the person I was telling you about, and the person I'm about telling you about is the man next to Harry. These are the only three things that have the identity relation. What is the identity relation? Is the verb to be. So the predicates of a language have a different function from the referring expression. The role of these two kinds of meaning cannot be exchanged. If John is a bachelor makes good sense, but bachelor is John makes no sense at all. You cannot exchange them right together. Predicates include words from various parts of speech, nouns, adjectives, prepositions, and verbs. And so the predicates have a different function from the referring expression. The referring expressions are arguments, and the predicates are something else. The predicates can be predicators. And with that, they come to the end of that chapter, which is chapter 5. If you look at this sentence, John is a bachelor. A bachelor over here is a predicate, right? Because John is the referring expression or argument. Is the verb, grammatical verb, and so a bachelor here is a predicate. Is here is not an identity relation because a bachelor is not a referring expression. It's simply a description. Remember, a bachelor, a redhead, a carpenter, a sailor, anything that is am, referring to general stuff, cannot be a referring expression. Okay, with that, we come to the end of this chapter time. Yes, a chapter, and we're over the time, and that's it. Please do your exams, your quiz, number 1. Remember, I said there is a password. The password is 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have any problems going into the quiz with the password, please send me a message immediately. I gave you my number, but you shouldn't have any problems. Okay, you can also post a message in the Blackboard itself. Okay, people, good luck. I'm off. Bye.